We also are already, obviously we've both said, we're already using AI every day. We're using generative AI, and I like both using it professionally and a little bit playfully as I use AI in my life. So this is our generative AI lens section where I've used generative AI to generate the next series of questions. So we've got two sets of questions. One is more on the AI technology, one a bit more personal and kind of ethical drivers within yourself. So this is where you get to choose which question, sight unseen, that you're feeling for. This is the personal background and formative experiences. 1, 2, or 3. What are you feeling today?
2.
2. Okay. Was there a time when you were completely wrong about how people would use or react to a technology you worked on, and what that taught you about the gap between designer intent and user reality?
I have so many answers coming to my mind. It's interesting to me. It's not a technology, it's a service, but with EqualAI, when we created this 6.5, 7 years ago, we thought we would be a temporary stopgap. We thought we'd be a short-term solution where companies were starting to learn about AI, starting to encounter risks that they didn't even realize were there, and needed a source to have community to help answer these questions, share best practices, mitigation strategies. I really thought that would be a short-term solution that EqualAI could offer. I was delightfully surprised. I don't know how to quantify it. Early this year, when the number of people in our badge program, in which you are one of the first teachers, Jen, has now doubled. The number of companies who want to work with us has increased in number and in the size and the impact of these companies. I guess the good news is savvy companies know that AI governance is not something to put off. They know that while new AI regulations are forthcoming and not yet here, there is no time to wait. AI governance is something that takes 18 months, 2 years to put into place. You may have a different number from your experience in building this hands-on, but I have been impressed with the enduring need of what we're creating. And what was interesting to me is I thought it was the instructors and the experts that we were bringing to our convenings and our programs that would be most interesting. But for many of our participants and our partners, it's actually the community that is one of the most important parts. So I guess that brings me to the other delightful surprise, again, you could say, which is that when I think about governance, I also, 7 years ago, did not think I would be in a position to answer this as a lawyer, as a policymaker. I really thought the technologists needed to be answering this question. And I realized quickly how unfair and wrong that was to expect one segment, one profession to answer these age-old questions alone while coding and developing and responding to consumer and C-suite demands in real time. That this really is a process that requires all of us. And a lot of what good governance is with respect to AI is just good governance in general. So I've been delightfully surprised at how much of AI governance and thoughtful AI development is really just smart practice. And if shared and done effectively, is really a competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. And yeah, obviously I can echo the point that with EqualAI, what stood out to me was how practical it was. Like, I think there had been, even emerging then 6 years ago, a lot of the theory and research around it, but only a few of us were putting it into practice and be able to say, like, we're rapidly moving in this responsible AI space. Here's what we've learned. Here's what we not. And even when I had the honor to speak with some of your guests and being there for other speakers, like you said earlier, I love when I learn. And it was such a fast-paced environment, but with practical learnings. And the group of people that you brought together, I agree that the richness of human experience, none of us can know everything. And when we bring the depth of skill and that breadth together, that's when we get to really great outcomes. I agree. It was a learning for me setting up these governance teams of the importance of not just differences in lived experiences, but those expertise. How can a technologist and a historian work together with a linguist? And how do we think about these things with philosophers and ethicists? And I really think that helped us essentially turbocharge a lot of those responsible AI efforts. So it doesn't surprise me that you're increasing volume of engagement because, like you said, even though regulation, depending on where you are regionally and if you're a global company, can feel either overwhelming or that you're in a holding pattern for it, governance is needed at any point. Don't wait for the regulation. There's so many great learnings we already know now. You ran through a process earlier of having your principles, your policies, your process, the governance embedded. We know those things already, and people need to be building them right now. So glad that continues to be an increasing cohort of people learning there.
Jen, I just wanted to, if you don't mind, underscore one point. While people are looking for new regulation, as you know, we have a book coming out governing the machine. I did a law article last year with Secretary Chertoff. I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure people know there are laws on the books across the globe today that will be governing AI. My prediction is that 80% of AI governance with respect to the legal expectations will come from laws currently on the books. And it'll be up to our courts and juries across the globe to figure out the nuances and how it's applied to AI. But just to underscore, people cannot wait. The laws that will deem their liability and that will shape their use are currently on the books. They should be looking to consumer protection, torts, contracts law, et cetera.
Great. Excellent point. Thank you for calling that out and jump back in. Yes, our listeners, our viewers need to understand that it is already here. Like the technology itself, it is here. There's already laws that will be applied. You mentioned a few there. Privacy, obviously, is another big one. That whether your data is used for kind of traditional statistical models versus AI or generative AI, that data is going to be protected and regulated in the same way. So excellent point to jump in there. Great. We'll go on to the second generated question then is around the ethics and technology side. So for this one, what are you feeling, 1, 2, or 3?
I'll be consistent and go with 2 again.
This one is labeled intergenerational ethics. Given that AI systems will likely outlast their creators, what ethical obligations do we have to future generations who will inherit AI systems that they had no role in designing? So intergenerational ethics, what obligations do we have for future generations?
Such a great question and such an important framing because we're so in the here and now in our own personal experience. It's so important that you remind us of all these important considerations, including that this will so outlast us, as well as the fact that even today, if you are building an AI system, everything that you touched currently is going around the globe in its use. And so it's something that is very much top of mind for today. But as you say, we need to be thinking about uses in a world that is very hard to imagine and how the system will be used, how it'll look at that point. I think the best practices for making sure that it's future-proofed is, first of all, the documentation. I think there's 5 best practices in good AI hygiene is what I like to call it, as not sexy as that term is. And one of the important steps is documentation, defining what you have tested and when. Right now, we're in this, I think, dangerous point where there's no standardization of what should be tested and when. So each company that's doing it, they're on their own. They can work with EqualAI to align on these definitions. There's other fora where they can hear where companies or policymakers are guiding them. But right now, we're in a place where most organizations are on their own to figure out what good testing looks like and how to define what it is they're testing. But the more explicit they can be, the more helpful it is for users down the line at their own organization, whether it's in real time or years down the road, let alone when that AI touches other hands across the globe and in the future. Good, careful, clear documentation. I realize I'm a boring lawyer, but that's what I think is a really important first part. The second part is crowdsource your creativity. It is so hard to answer these questions. What does the world look like? Even now, when we're thinking about different uses of AI systems in different cultures and societies, it can be beyond one individual's comprehension to really answer that question thoughtfully. So the only way to get this right, whether we're thinking about different uses today, and especially when we're trying to imagine a world that we don't live in, we need to bring in more voices. And part of that is bringing in people over a certain age who are not currently using AI because they have experienced revolutions before. They can explain to us things that they're noticing about technology and AI that we would not. And it certainly means we need to be including young people in these conversations, these digital natives, this generation AI, who can share with us a very different perspective on how this will use and look in the future.
I love the crowdsourcer creativity. I feel I may borrow with permission that language. I think it's a very lovely and inclusive way of doing it. And you're exactly right. It's across the spectrum. It's not just, oh, well, we currently have this group speaking. Let's go look on almost 1 degree of separation away. It's about how do we cover that almost like tapestry of human experience and making sure that we're engaging that. I love that. I don't agree with the documentation is boring. I think documentation brings something like provenance and accountability and transparency and just understandability. We need not just to understand it currently, but like I said, for intergenerational, the people who come after us, how do we understand that and write it in a way that's accessible? So I will +1 that without leaning into that it's boring. I think it's got so much potential to be helpful in our AI governance and responsible AI efforts.